What is poker value slicing with thin value bets? Have you ever wondered how some players seem to extract every last chip from their opponents, even with less than stellar hands? Today, we are going to break down the concept of poker value slicing with thin value bets. This strategy is all about making those smaller bets that can still yield profits over time. So, what exactly does this mean? Thin value bets are made when you have a hand that is only slightly better than what your opponent might call with. You expect to win just over 50% of the time if your opponent calls. This means your hand isn't very strong, but it still has an edge over many of the hands your opponent could have. The term value slicing refers to the practice of targeting specific parts of your opponent's calling range. You want to find those slices where your hand holds an advantage. This requires you to analyze what your opponent might be holding and bet in situations where you can gain value from weaker hands. To effectively make thin value bets, you need to be aware of both your own hand and your opponent's likely holdings. If your range includes bluffs or marginal hands, your opponent is more likely to call with weaker hands. This is where thin value betting becomes profitable. It is also important to consider your opponent's tendencies. Thin value bets work best against players who tend to call too often or with a wide range of hands. Recreational players often fall into this category, making them ideal targets for this strategy. When it comes to bet sizing, thin value bets are usually smaller. You want to entice your opponent to call with weaker hands. If you bet too large, you risk folding out hands you want to extract value from. On the other hand, betting too small might not build enough of a pot or could look suspicious. For example, imagine you have a marginal top pair on a board where your opponent has shown a tendency to call light. A modest bet can be profitable here because worse hands, like second pair or weak top pairs, may call. This allows you to earn small but consistent value. By identifying specific parts of your opponent's range that you beat, such as weaker top pairs or middle pairs, you can slice your value bets to those spots where your hand is just ahead. This requires careful analysis of the board texture and your opponent's betting history. The goal of thin value betting is to accumulate small edges over many hands. While each individual bet may yield a small profit, consistently applying this strategy can increase your overall win rate. In summary, poker value slicing with thin value bets is about making those marginal value bets by targeting the exact segments of your opponent's range that you can beat. This tactic is often used on the river or late streets to maximize your winnings from hands that are not strong but still better than many of your opponent's calling hands. It requires good range reading, awareness of opponent tendencies, and precise bet sizing to be effective.